Okay, well, in this case, I would like to spend a few minutes showing you how to get some data out of iNaturalist, which is not as intuitive as it might seem, but it's a really rich database. And as I mentioned in class, it's got so many different taxa represented that it's really a wonderful resource. You can see from the sort of global map of coverage, it's really widespread globally too. So great way to find information from lots of cool places around the world. Nearly 80 million observations, so that's pretty impressive, and over 346,000 species represented. So lots of data here in the iNaturalist system. But there are some idiosyncrasies about how you get some of that. So we are in the Explore tab, right? And what we want to do is start using some filters to filter some of that data so we don't get 78 million records that come back to us. What I'm going to be interested in here is let's look for some mammals. So we've got these different taxonomic categories. Let's just look for mammal data. And let's see, iNaturalist does it sort of grades each observation in terms of how well established it is, and their highest grade is called research grade. So let's look for their data on mammals that meet research grade criteria. And let's see, I'm not particularly concerned in like a range of dates or anything like that, because what I want to do right now is I want to add another filter, and that's the location filter, the place. And I want to look for all the mammal data that we've got for Papua New Guinea. So we can just pick a cool place somewhere in the world and get some data on it. And if I did this and found out that there was a lot of data available, and then I might want to parse out, let's say, the years over which those data were relevant, I might do that. But for now, I just want to see what's there. So looking for any mammal data from Papua New Guinea. And let's see, so any mammal, research grade, Papua New Guinea, that all sounds good. We're ready to start a download. The download selection takes us to another page that also gives us some other searchable items that we can put in for our query. But the main thing is it asks to choose the columns of the data as you want them to be displayed. So this is way too much information for what we need right now. So I'm going to go none, none, and none for all of those sort of standard selections, and just give me a basic identification ID, so a unique identifier for the observation. Give me the place. And in terms of taxa, let's have just scientific name and common name. So now I'm going to ask for all of that data from the database for our mammals recorded for New Guinea, and then go ahead and create an export. Now this will churn around for a minute, and then once it's ready, there'll be another update on the page. Sometimes if it's a really big query, you can put in to get an email sent to you later. But that just took a few seconds, certainly less than a minute. Our export is now complete, so let's download. That went into my downloads file. And now that's going to open up as a CSV. On my computer, that'll open up in Numbers. I don't want to play around with it in Numbers, so I'll just copy it from Numbers and put it into Excel that I'm more comfortable with. So here we go. Here is our information from Numbers. So these are mammal species from Papua New Guinea. So what I will do is select all and copy those, and then go ahead and put it right into an Excel spreadsheet. And there we go. So now I can play around with these data, quite a bit more. Now I'll show you some things that you can do in Excel to help you make some better sense of the data. For one, I'm going to click in this top left corner and then sort of double click any column, and that'll just sort of justify the width of the column so I can read all the information in a column. Now I want to know, this isn't that many records at all. So it's only 56 total records of mammals in New Guinea. So that's kind of easy to deal with. Let me then just highlight all that. If it was a whole bunch of records, like if it was hundreds of records, what I might do is parse it out a little bit more. So maybe I would only want data from, this site, for example, within Papua New Guinea. But if it's only 56 records, that's not too much to play around with at all. So now that I've got it selected, what I want to know, again, is for how many species we have, and then I want to know the abundance of those species. In this case, every row is a unique record for each species. So if I just add those up per species, that'll tell me like how many times that species has been recorded in iNaturalist. So what I'm going to do for that is summarize the data with what's called a pivot table. In this case, now that I've said, hey, create me a pivot table, it's highlighted this region that I've highlighted, and so I want to use the data in this sheet. I'm going to put my pivot table not in a new worksheet, but right here in this existing worksheet is fine, and I'm just going to click a cell and say put it in there, and it will. And so now we can see that we have some choices for how we organize the information in this table, but I really just need something really simple. I really just want common name, and I want that in rows. Boom. So there it is. There's my table. Now, if I wanted to manipulate this at all, because there are sort of calculations and counts behind each cell in column G here, it might change things around if I start changing things around. So I'm just going to, for simplicity's sake, take a copy of this relevant data, and I'm going to paste a copy of it over here, only I'm going to use a function called paste special. And paste special gives me some other options for my paste. In this case, I just want the values from the cells. I don't want all the equations that are behind them. I just want the actual values in those cells. And I'll do this a lot when I'm making tables and compiling data. Well, now I have the count of the common name for each species and our row labels. We'll just call those mammal species. And here's the count. So I always like to sort things by the most abundant to the least abundant. So the next thing I'll do is highlight this little table that we've made, and I will go to sort, and I'm going to sort from count of common name, and I'm going to go largest to smallest, and boom, there we go. There are, let's see, how many we got here? There are 29 mammal species recorded in iNaturalist for Papua New Guinea, and here they are. From the probably most well represented, the common spotted cuscus, which is kind of like a tree kangaroo sort of thingy, to the common echimipera, which is also known as the spiny bandicoot, the gray dorcopsis, the speckled dazzure. A lot of these are names that are unfamiliar to you, and they're unfamiliar to me too, because these are, marsupials that from the Australasian region that really don't occur elsewhere. But there are some other things you might recognize, like wild boar, of course, different species of bats, sugar glider you might be familiar with as a really common possum from Australia that of course also occurs on Papua New Guinea, the dugong. So now we get into some of the marine species that might be at least in the near shore waters. Dugong is a lot like a manatee. Orca whales, right? Spinner dolphins. So all of these things would be reported as mammals in the database. We might decide for a particular analysis we're doing that we really don't want the marine mammals in there. Maybe we only want the forest mammals and the native mammals. We could take those out. But as it stands, here are our data, just like we developed for the butterflies, for North American Butterfly Association, just like we did for eBird, where we got each species in a row and then some measure of its abundance in the corresponding cells of that row. And that's really all there is to it.